Then the other window will be from 3 to 4, and the last window will be from 5:30 to 6. If you miss the last window, you can cause a systemic risk, because the guys that you are expecting to get the money from you, they won't get because you missed that window, and then you can cause a systemic risk. So, for the immediate incident, you have to get these critical people and make sure that they are able to cover these windows, these payment windows. Then, short run. For example, I think a couple of years ago, there was a shooting in a bank in the US and in the trading floor. So, what you do? Of course, first you do the immediate incident. And second, because of the police would close the trading floor for a couple of days, your traders, they cannot work from there. So you have to think about what you are going to do in the short run, couple of days. Depends what you define as a short run. But in a couple of days, maybe these guys, they will work from the people recovery side. Maybe they can work from home if it's not trading. Maybe you can fly them overnight to another branch. There is lots of strategy that you can play with. And then the strategy for the long run, if you have a major disruption like 9/11, then you have to think about what you're going to do. Of course, you put people to work from home, you put people to work from the people recovery side, but you have to think about, what are you going to do the next time, for the next year, for the next couple of months, where you're going to build the headquarters again, etc., etc. Main strategies for the business continuity management. People recovery side. People recovery side, when I was running the project, was really, really important. I gave some calls in the last weeks. I spoke with lots of people in New York about the presentation to bring you some of the more recent information. So, people recovery sites, they are not very trendy right now because they are really expensive and because now you have new technologies. For those that never worked in a bank, you can't access, until a couple of years ago, you can't access the system of the bank from a computer from home. Or if you are able to, it was extremely slow because of the security. Like UBS, we have the wealth management part of it, so you have client data there. And you know what happened with JP Morgan when the guy got the client data from the Swiss bank, from the JP Morgan in Swiss, and he sold it to Germany, he sold all the data, and there was a huge reputational damage for JP Morgan at that time. So, people recovery side, I think that's important. For trading, you don't have another choice. If you are investment banking and if you have a trading floor, the only way that you can do is to have the people recovery side, because you are obliged to record all the phone calls, and the trader has some special equipment that I'll show you in a couple of slides. So it's very important to have it. Then you have the IT strategies, other strategies that you like, communication, crisis management, etc. And then the most important one, I think, training, making people aware and testing it. It's all together here. When you train, you are testing and you are making people aware. Because I can tell you that your strategy is to go to this address and you have a seat there. If there is an incident, then there is an incident, a strike, for example. You go to the bank, you cannot work from there, and then you look in your card and say, well, where is this address? I have no idea. Then you go there, after you find it, they ask you for a badge. You don't have the badge to get into the building, so they are going to ask you a lot of security questions, blah, blah, and then you are going to be late, and you can miss one of those windows, and then you can cause a systemic risk, and then that is big trouble. So if you are trained, if you test your position, then you know what to do when you have the incident. And as well, because you were there, then you can see if all the systems that you required from the IT, they are installed there. Because the BCM team, they cannot test these systems. Because only you have access. Because it can contain confidential information. So, BIA, business impact analysis. That's where all the work starts. There's a lot of information here. So, what you are going to do with the BIA? You are going to map. You are going to sit down with the area head and say, what are your critical people? Who are your critical people? So he's going to say, oh, my critical people are these guys. You sit down there, you are going to talk with the guys, and you are going to gather all the information. What are the critical systems? What do they need? If they need a people recovery, a seat in the people recovery site, etc. So the details of the activities, you have to prioritize time critical deliverables. I think that Geraldine will share with you. So this is I think there's lots of questions. What is the biggest challenge when you are implementing a project like that? The biggest challenge is to make people understand that critical is different of important. Everybody likes their jobs, or if they don't like, they are there because they need. So if you sit down with a person and you say, is your job critical or important? What is the most likely answer? Critical. Because they are afraid if they say that's not critical, they can be dismissed. So everybody says, what? My job is critical for the bank. I have to have a people recovery site. I need, all the strategy. I need the full package. And then you have to start giving examples to them and say, I know that you are very important for the bank, but your job might be not critical. For example, onboarding. Onboarding is an area in the bank where when you are bringing clients to the bank, you have all the paperwork from the clients, all the questionnaires, if they're from the investment bank or if they're from the wealth management. So all these documents that they have to come in, and then you are going to look very closely to the documents to avoid money laundering, to avoid a series of questions, okay? So in a contingency, you had a major thing going on. People cannot work from the headquarters. Is onboarding critical? No, it's not. It's not, because if you are in a contingency, you are not going to onboard new clients because you are working with less people. People are stressed because they're not working from their desks. They're working from another side, they're working from home. So if there is a major incident and you are not going to onboard. So onboarding in this case is not critical. It's important. Yes, it's important, but it's not critical. Another example, investment banking, M&A. Do they need a people recovery side? The guys that are working with M&A, mergers and acquisitions. No. They can fly and work from another branch of the bank. They can work from the offices of the thousands of lawyers that are following the transaction. So it's really important, extremely important, but it's critical. No, it's not critical. So making people understand that critical is different than important was one of the biggest challenges. Good. So why do you perform the BIA? Because we have to identify the risks. As I told you, you have to sit down and talk to people and map everything. And then you have to define the recovery time objective, the RTO. The recovery time objective, it may change from area to area. Those guys that are making payments, that they are working in the back office, they are working doing the settlements, the window that the recovery objective time that they have might be only 2 hours. And for traders, 3 hours maybe. For some of the guys from back office, 8 hours. So those guys that are working on the doing their jobs, they know what are the recovery time objective for them. So that information you are going to get from the BIA when you talk with these people. Then you are going to see the number of recovery seats that the business needs, and that's really important. You have to understand what are the dependencies from the systems, because maybe one area is generating information that cannot, they don't think that's critical, but it's critical for another process that is critical. A little bit confusing, but it's like that. So an example is, you have the front office, traders. They send information to the middle office that will work this information and send the information to the back office that will do the settlements. So these guys, generally, they are not taken really seriously. So people can think, oh, the middle office is not critical. But they are here. If they don't work the information that the traders are sending, the back office cannot do the settlements, and then you have a big problem. So looking at these interconnections of the areas, it's really important. How often we have to perform or review the BIA? That's the base of our continuous plan. Depends, as I told you, if you have lots of people leaving and you have new people coming in a trading floor, you might have to do it straight away. If nothing changes, you can do it yearly or in 6 months. Depends of your policy, depends of the needs of your bank. And then you have some assumptions when you are doing the BIA that I saw some of the questions there related to that. So the cause of the disruption doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a leak that damage your data center. It doesn't matter if someone shoot in the trading floor, or doesn't matter if a plane crashed in the building. You have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So what will cause the disruption doesn't matter. You have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Business, then you assumption. Business has stopped operating indefinitely, and then you have all that. There are no solutions to mitigate the impact, so there is no small things like Brazilians love to do. We call jeitinho. It's I cannot work from here, but I work from there. It's easy. You work from his computer or whatever. No. No. It's strict. You have to work from your station. You have to work from home, or you have to. There is no little things that you can do. The recovery time objective. Is there something to?
Yes.
Yeah. So. Thank you. So generally, the recovery time objective comes from a matrix like this, where you have financial loss, regulatory compliance, and then reputation. And then you have here T1, T2, 3, and 4. And this, and then you can have T0. These are minutes. So what you have to do is someone will put information here saying like T1 is a loss of 0 to 1 million euros. T2, 2 to 10, and then goes on. Regulatory compliance. So here is just a warning from the regulators. Here you have a warning and something and a fine. Here you have some of the directors, they are prosecuted. And here people can go to jail because they did not accomplish what they have to do. And then you have the reputational. Here you have news on Bloomberg only. Here you have news on Bloomberg and the local newspaper. Here you have local newspaper, Bloomberg, Financial Times, and there elsewhere. So then you are going to speak with the guys and say, okay, T3, let's say that is 120 minutes here. What's the biggest thing here? So it's going to be the loss, like 30 millions, or the director being prosecuted. It's something really serious. Yes, it is. So you might put your recovery time objective in T2. That's going to be 60 minutes. So each area will tell you what is relevant for them, and will tell you what which one of these T, or the time for recovery, that they are going to use. People recovery site, I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but it's really something that you have to think deeply. Like, you have to be located from X kilometers from your headquarters, because if there's an earthquake there, if you're too close, next block, you lost both sides. If there is a flood there, you lost both. Or if both of your sides, they have the same grid of electrical power, if there is a major disruption in this grid, you lost both of them. So to locate your people recovery site, it's a lot of information that you have to take into account, and then find a location that will suit or that will attain most of this of the criteria that you have chosen. Then you had other requirements that are really important, because as I told you, we are planning for the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is that you're going to work from the people recovery site in the long run. If you are going to there for the long run, you need to be in a place that they have food services. You need to have hotels there, because it might be far from the house of your employees. So that is, they have to be able to be there, sleep in a hotel. You might need a conference room, you might need an helipad, so that is, the business will tell you. You can guide the business towards the cost, but the business will let you know what are the most important things to them. So, as I mentioned to you before, IT redundancy strategies. So today, most of the banks, for most of the functions, they are working with AAA strategy. AAA is anywhere, any place, anytime. What does it mean? I can use my personal computer and log into the bank network and work from home. So that saves a lot of seats in the people recovery site, because people can log into the bank systems without being in a computer that belongs to the bank. Then you have the software. You have to be careful with your vendors. In Brazil, we don't use the big softwares that are used in Europe or in the US, because of our regulation. It's really, really strict. So most of the softwares that the banks use in Brazil, they are developed in Brazil. And but some of these companies, these softwares, they are really small. So like we were about to implement a software, excellent software for wealth management in Brazil, but only one person knew the code of that software. If the guy is on a holiday, or if he dies, or if he cannot answer the phone, you lost. Your reputation is going down the drain. So we cannot use this software. We have to look for another one. And here, these are the turrets that I was talking about. So can you imagine it? The modern one, ultra high-tech, ultra new, is in his trade desk in the headquarters. Incident, he goes to the people recovery site and he faces it. Won't work. The trader won't know how to start operating this. So he will lose trades. He won't be able to close positions, because in a contingency, as I told you, is not business as usual. So you are not doing new trades. You are only closing your open positions. So you do everything that you can to minimize your financial losses. This is the most common scenario of a bank. So you have the headquarters, you have the data center, and then you have the people recovery site. There is a strike. People cannot work from the headquarters, so they can work from the people recovery site, and the data came from the headquarters because the servers are there, the servers are working, everything is up and running. And then you have the headquarters lost for any reason. So the data that was in the headquarters, it's here, and the people are going to work from here using the data that is here. So when you are defining what is your critical information, you are defining as well how often the data that is generated there is going to be here. So training, awareness and testing, it's about communication, communication, communication. You have to make people aware, because most of the people that work in bank, mainly in Brazil, they think that they don't take BCM as serious as it is. So you have to make them really conscious that it's serious, it can damage your reputation. We lived on our reputation. So yeah, and then you doing that, you have the stakeholders engagement. Tests, you have the walkthroughs. I don't like walkthroughs. Walkthroughs basically, IT technicians go to my desk, logs into my machine in the people recovery site, a remote login, and then I just go there and see if all the systems that I requested are there. Doesn't work for me. It's like if you don't have another alternative, you can do it, but there are other very good alternatives. Simulations, you can do a test that's functional, just a business line, just back office, just middle office, so the entire wealth management. You can do a comprehensive test, a programming test, not program test. So not program test, you can start without saying to your people that you are doing that, and then we start calling them like 5 o'clock in the morning. We are in a contingency. You should go to the people recovery site, or you should go to work from home, and then you are going to see if it will work or not. And to finish, there is a small